Be bold. Be heard. Welcome to Unmute Your Mic with your host, Jessica Bell. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Unmute Your Mic.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Unmute Your Mic. My name is Jessica Bell. I am your host from Kansas City, Missouri, as always. And thank you so much for tuning in. If this is your first time, welcome. If you are returning, thank you for being a part of the Unmute Your Mic family. Before we get started, please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and anywhere that you would find a podcast. You can also go to unmuteyourmic.org. There you can find our past episodes, our current episode, purchase merchandise, and get connected via our newsletter. I'm so excited for our conversation today. Eric, thank you so much for agreeing to be on my podcast. If you could just introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about you.
Thank you for the opportunity to be on your podcast. My name is Eric Jones Jr., the Underdog with the heroic heart. I'm a father, a teacher, a podcast host. I have a clothing line. I'm a jack of all trades, kind of, sort of, but I'm just the underdog. I was born with a disability, and I never allowed that to stop me from being who the person I am today.
I love that title. I love the underdog title because I think it's something so unique about people who are supposed to be counted out and they're not. So can you tell us a little bit more about being the underdog, how that kind of shaped who you are today?
So I was born one out of a million people with a rare disease called club hands. So I don't have the main bone in my arm, which is the radius bone. So when I was born, like the doctors, my mom, everybody shocked because I was born in the 80s. So, you know, they didn't have the ultrasounds that they got now. And when I came out, it was like, oh, no, we never seen this before. So the doctors had to go and research, come back 24 hours later, tell my parents, you know, the pros and cons of my situation. My mom, she loved me like any mom would. My dad kind of was blaming her, like kind of was against it, like, oh, my son looks a certain way. So that week, I don't know if you ever heard of Shriners Hospital. Shriners Hospital helps kids with physical disabilities. So they so happen to be in Michigan. I'm from Michigan City, Indiana. It's a small town. So they so happen to be in the hospital. And without them, I wouldn't have been able to have over 16 different surgeries from the time I was 6 months old till I was 17 years old. So started off, it was really always me and my mom. My dad they weren't together, and then he passed away when I was 4. And so my mom married my sister's dad, and we moved into a house. And I love basketball, and I always watch people. I'm the loud person, you know, I'm rooting for whoever, but I'm like, I'm tired of watching people. I want people to watch me. So I really taught myself how to play basketball, and basketball is kind of the way that I transferred my confidence, the person who I was on the basketball court, to life. So as a kid, I got bullied, you know, tried to attempt to commit suicide twice, didn't work out. I hated school, so me in school was just never, like, I didn't even want to go. It's like, I don't like these kids, they talking mess, I don't want to learn nothing, this is just not for me. But as life went on, I was able to joke back. I was able to stand up for myself and not allow the bully to bully me anymore. So basketball kind of geared my life until I was like 18. Had some trouble in school when I was in high school because my grandfather, which was my best friend, passed away. So that threw off everything. And I remember my mom was like, I just need you to graduate. I'm like, okay, I could do that. Cause she crying. She took me to the pastor, like, hey, get him together. Like, I want him to at least graduate. So I graduated with a 1.7. I know, it's horrible. But I got an offer to college. She said, you can stay at home or you can go to college. Well, I'm getting up out of here. I don't like these rules. I don't like nothing you got going on. But I went to college just to get out the house. And I'm a 2-time dropout. I went once, didn't like my major, dropped out, went again, was partying too much with my friends, doing all that. And so as I became an adult, throughout life, anytime I ever got a job, somebody gave me the job because they knew me. They might knew my mom, my dad, whatever. And so as an adult, it was very hard to get a job. And I couldn't get Social Security. I don't know how that works when you're born with a disability. You're supposed to get disability, but no. They said I worked too many hours, I could do too much, but I couldn't do too much when nobody's giving me a job. So it was when I got 30. I'm about to be 36 in May. So when I was about 30, I just had my son. About to be, I was about to be married. And I heard Eric Thomas, and I got in this community, and people heard my story. It's like, you should speak. Speak? What's that? I'm from the hood. What? Speak? What's that? And opportunity to tell my story. I told my story once, and the rest is history. Like that, really, I really understood why I was born the way I was, why I had to go through everything. It's because to help other people. It's to show them that no matter whatever situation you're going through, you can get out of it. So that's kind of the short version of my story. Had the different surgeries. They broke my arm several times, moved cartilage, moved pinky bones. I had my first actual surgery. You can't find a vein in my arm. So even now they have to like go through my neck. So as a kid, they cut my leg open and then they had to put the IV in my manhood. So this is my very first surgery. So from that surgery to 17, it was rough, but I just never gave up. I just took what I knew on the basketball court, the dominance, the confidence, the cockiness, whatever you want to put on it. That's what I transferred into everyday life. And once I realized my arms aren't going to grow, it's not going to change. I just started living life for me and doing the things that I wanted to do.
And so, why do you think that is that you didn't give up? Because, sometimes we hear people say, like, don't quit or just don't give up, but it's not always that easy. So, what do you think it was inside of you that made you not give up?
So as a kid and probably until I got to college, I was naive. Like I just went with the flow of things. Like I don't I would say I got a smart mouth, but I was like, I'm a human just like you're a human. I bleed just like you bleed. Like, so you're not gonna treat me anyway, you're not gonna do anything to me that you wouldn't do to somebody else. And so that kind of a-holeness that I had kind of, allowed me to do whatever I wanted. It was like I can't give up. Like if I gave up, I would probably be somebody that needed help. My mom, helping me dress and all that. It's like, no, I don't need all that. And as an adult, it was having a son. Well, his sister was there before him. She's not my biological, but she's my daughter. So it was her, and then having my son. It's like I can't give up. These two humans depend on me to be a better person, to do whatever my purpose is in life. And it's really, I just never, because I'm a junior, I didn't want to live up to my dad's legacy. I don't know him, didn't know him, but then I found out about him. Like, I don't want that. So I can't give up because I want to leave my kids with something that my dad didn't leave me. So it's just about having a why, having a reason why you're doing something, having and it can't just be oh, well, it's my kids. No, it's not just my kids. It's to make their life better. It's to leave them with better character than my dad left me. So it's got to have a specific why. And when you have that why, you don't want to give up, because when I look at my son, it's like I can't give up on my man. It's like he depends on me regardless. If something happened to their mom, it's on me. So it's like I got to make sure that I'm who I am, so that the people that depend on me can depend on me.
That's really good. And so you said that the statement about your father, right? And so that made me want to ask, how do you? Because I've talked to different people, and so I'll be interested to hear your perspective on this. How do you become something you've never seen? So how do you become a great father when you haven't got to experience having one?
Um, so I so my biological father passed, and my sister's dad is my dad. He's still alive. That's my dad. He was there, but he wasn't there because him and my mom got a divorce when I was in fifth grade. So I've seen a male be there. I've seen the go to work, make sure the bills are paid, that kind of stuff. But I've always been a kid person. Like even when I was a kid, I helped other kids. Like that's just me. And so That's how I got their mom, by the relationship with my daughter. And then when my son came, and when he came out, it was like, okay, this little dude knows nothing. He depends on me. If I don't get better, if I don't start doing the things that I said I'm going to do, then I could fail him. And it's like, you have to get around other fathers. So two of my closest friends, they became fathers like 6 years before. So I seen examples, and I got around fathers. I got to asking questions like, how do you do this? What happens when this happens? And just trying. Like, there's no manual for a parent. It don't matter if you have one, if you don't have one. You just got to go out there and figure it out. And that's it. Just figuring it out and understanding my son depends on me. Like, I wouldn't know what life would be like if he wasn't in my life. So it's like that gives me joy. So it's like I had to get better at it. Because if I didn't, then I'd be a statistic. I'd be just a dude on child support, maybe get my son every now and no, because me and his mom got a divorce. So it's like, no, that's not gonna happen. Like, I want to be there for him because I know what it's like not to have that around. So and when you don't have it, you can't do things. Oh, I wish my dad would have. No, it's what you do for your kids. Because my son is different than his sister. So the type of stuff I do with her, she's about to be 17, he's about to be 8. There's a big difference. So you got to know what know your kids, and just keep learning. Learn every day. Ask questions. Get around people that are great fathers that you know, and that's it's just like anything else. You got to learn it. Is no trial. It's trial and error.
I love that. And I think that's very important to bring up because so often people can use that as an excuse. Like, oh, well, I never had a dad. So, and use that as an excuse to not be a good one. But like you said, you have to learn it, but you also have to want to learn it and have to, be able to kind of break that generational thing that can often happen, not even just in the black family, but in the families in general, as we pass things down until somebody decides to step out and say, it's going to stop here and it's not going to be, my son's not going to have to know some of the things that I've experienced. So thank you for sharing that. And you also mentioned that you had a podcast. So can you talk a little bit about what your podcast is about and what made you start one?
So my podcast is Underdog Talk Podcast. I have conversations with successful underdogs. Basically, people that have a story, something was going on and now they're successful. And it don't matter if it's you just lost weight, it don't matter whatever it is, because success is different for everybody. So it's really people just sharing their story of how they overcame life and got to the point that they're at. So I started with a radio show, me and one of my friends. And it's so crazy because when I was in my 20s, me and my best friend at the time, we talked about having a radio show, but I actually lived it out. And then when it happened, I was like, wow, I remember talking about this. So it didn't work out at the radio station because the radio station was whack. The people that worked there was whack. I'm going to say that. So then I started a podcast, and that's when I first started doing the speaking, motivating, and it wasn't me. Like, that was like, I can motivate you, but I cuss. I'm a little ghetto. I'm loud. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I was just trying to stick to something I didn't. So then I rebranded and I started, it was called It's a Jones Thing. Because I was like, I'm a Jones, I'm gonna be me. And so I started with myself, then I started interviewing people, and then I got some co-hosts. And one of my co-hosts, the main co-host, she passed away last year in a tragic accident. So I stopped. Like, I didn't podcast from August until the end of the year, but I'm like, this is something I love to do. And Underdog kind of is sticking with me. I got a lot kind of going with it now. That I'm working on. So I was like, let me do that and go back to interviewing people, because you can't always depend on having a co-host, because if they don't have the same passion, if they ain't on the same page as you, it's not going to work. So I was like, let me just interview people. And I love to talk to people. I love to get to know people with different perspectives. I got people on the show coming up in the UK and England, different. They speak. One girl, she almost is going to be a difficult one because she speaks a different, like, her original language is different, so her English is a little sketchy. So, but it's like I get to go all over the world, really, and talk to different people. And I love that. And that's just something I love to do. So that's why I continued the podcast. I didn't let, the tragedy of my co-host, my friend Crystal, stop me. I took a break and I just rebranded and I'm rolling now.
And it seems to be like the theme of your story, like you said, the underdog. But a lot of the things that you have gone through, you kind of just you talk about them, and though they're impactful, you always say, "But then I just kept going." And I think that is not always easy. And sometimes people can hear that and say, "Okay, like I just want to be like that. I want to just be able to keep going." And so I think that's what's inspirational about your story is because you're talking about it, but you're talking about it not like a woe is me situation, but more of like, yeah, I've gone through this. My life hasn't been perfect, but I'm still here. And so thank you for being inspirational in that sense because people always need somebody to look to when they and sometimes it's easier when the person is not Jay-Z or somebody that seems so far out of reach, but people who are living their lives, every day that we can come in contact with. Not to say that you will not become a Jay-Z if you wanted to, but
Yeah.
like all of us, we don't always get to see people stepping stones before they make it to that big pinnacle of their career. And so you mentioned that you had gone through a divorce. I have too in the past. And so how did that kind of just affect you and how you moved as a father, as an entrepreneur, and everything else?
As a father, it didn't stop me. Like, I'm not one of them, oh, I'm gonna just get my kid. No, if they mom say they need a break and I'm not busy, hey, bring them over. Like my son comes, my daughter don't really come over, but my son does. So like this weekend he's coming over, but I never stop. It's like it pains me that I don't get to see him physically every day or get to be there or see that smile when he getting off the bus or whatever. But I just made sure like I call him every single morning unless I oversleep and forget, oh look, oh he already gone. But I call him every morning and I call him before he goes to bed. And I just couldn't see myself without them. Um Entrepreneur wise, me as a person, it kicked my butt. Like it made me doubt myself as a person. It like a lot of different things because I was going through counseling at the end of the marriage and I got to find more about myself and like you were just saying, like it ain't been easy. Like I might make it seem it's not. It's hard as hell, but you just got to keep going. And I found myself. I have boundaries now. You not interrupting my peace. You not interrupting my sleep. Like I'm not gonna answer the phone or talk to you if you talking small talk. So I figured out who Eric Jones Jr. was as an adult and it really helped me because I really started from nothing. Like I had to get a place. We had a house together. I had to get a place. Then I didn't have no furniture. I had to start all over, and it's been rewarding because I know the next step is going to be greater than what I've been going through the last 2 or 3 years. And then COVID happened too. So that messed up a lot of different stuff. Then I'm by myself. I'm with a family all the time. COVID happens. I'm at home by myself. Like, what in the world is going on? But that's where I was able to get back on the horse because I was speaking all the time. I was going to schools. I was doing that. And I stopped because of COVID. And then I stopped because I was going through stuff personally. And now like when you hear me speak is because I've went through all that stuff and I know who I am as a person. And it's like life could punch me in the face. It's gonna hurt for a little bit, but I'm gonna keep going. And that's just what the divorce did to me. Me and their mom are good co-parents. We all right. I get on her nerves, she get on my nerves, but we do it for the kids. So it's a lot of learning who I was as a person and learning what I'm not going to accept later in any relationship or anything in life. Like if you try to interrupt my sleep, it's not gonna happen. Like if you're trying to interrupt anything in my peace bubble, it's not gonna happen. And before I would let it happen, or I would have relationships with people and it wasn't helping me moving forward. Now I understand if it's not helping me move forward, if it's not putting money in my account, if it's not helping me be a better Eric, I'm not with it. And I don't care who it is. It could be a family. I'm I'm ruthless. It could be my parent, my mama, my sister, my brother, anybody. If you and I had to learn that. So the divorce was hard at first, but it's helped me become a better man.
And so, how did it sounds like it helped you really find your identity, and which I think is so interesting because a lot of times you go through stuff thinking you're going to come out on the other side like, who am I? But in all actuality, if you heal the proper way, you truly get to figure out, oh, maybe this is why I found myself in a certain situation. And it's not always just placing the blame on one person or just on you, but just like, hey, I'm a better person on the other side of this despite how difficult it was to come through that. And so you talked about setting boundaries, which I believe is really important. And so, how do you keep those boundaries in your life? Because sometimes when you're somebody like yourself who inspires people, you'll have people constantly trying to pull from you, but not a lot of people trying to pour into you. And so, how do you keep that safe space?
No, I just is no. I like I said, I'm somewhat of a I'm a lovable a-hole. I made a sweater shirt because like you're not gonna stop me from doing. You're not helping me. If you're not helping me get to the bag or get to wherever I want to get to with my vision, what do I need you for? Like I go to God first. I go vent to Him instead of venting to other people. And it's like, because sometimes you vent to the wrong people or you're around the wrong people or, oh, I've been knowing you since we've been kids. Oh, okay, that's cool. But we've been broke since we've been kids. It might time to change this relationship. So it's really just, if you're not helping me, I don't want to be a part of what you got going on. Like, I just say no. And I don't really care if you get upset. Like you're not meant for me. Like I just started dating last year and it's like I go to bed at a certain time. I'm not sitting on the phone and hearing you talk about work all the time. That's not helping me. So it's like a lot of people will get mad. I don't really care. Like you're not helping me. If someone's not helping you, if they're not building you up, if they're draining from you, if they're only withdrawing and they're not depositing, then you need to leave them alone. And that's just I got to that point where I don't care about your feelings because you don't care about mine. So that's simple as it gets. It wasn't easy. I somewhat get distracted on my own by reaching out to people, like, but I know like that's not gonna help me get to where I need to. God put me in this season of isolation for a reason, and I have to accept it. To get out of this season, I have to do what I need to do and not what I need to do for other people.
And listen, that season of isolation is real because I have been in those like, what? Like, I'm for real about to be just kicking it with myself for a while. But it's something amazing that comes out on the other side of that because if you don't force relationships in that season, on the other side, all the right people. You notice that you start getting the right people start coming towards you, the right people for business, for personal, just spiritually, just in general, you have the right people surrounding you when you take your time and you don't just, keep some of these relationships that are convenient or have just because somebody's been around for a very long time that, we should just stay in each other's lives forever. Like friendships, relationships, everything, sometimes they do have an expiration date and you have to learn how to, keep it pushing and even without ill intention. So this conversation has been so great, and I thank you for that. I thank you for being transparent and being who you are and not being ashamed of that. I think especially I work with youth, and so I think a lot of young boys definitely need to look up to other men who can say, hey, I am who I am. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to try to fit into a specific mold, but I'm going to continue to walk in what God's called me to walk in despite what other people think. And so thank you for being that and thank you for that inspiration.
Oh, thank you for that. It's just it's part of life. I don't really know anything else but to be myself. And I think people have to realize you have to be yourself if you're gonna win. Like everybody else is taken. Everybody else is taken. I was born one out of a million people, so there's not too many people that are like me, and I understand that. Like everybody's not gonna like the tea you drink. Everybody ain't gonna like the way you fry your chicken. So just be yourself and be happy with being yourself. And when you do that, you're able to walk that way. You're able to walk in rooms and go different places and be yourself no matter how you look. Because if you ask me to go somewhere and wear a suit, I'm not going to wear a suit, but I'm still going to give you the same information as if I was in a suit. I'm going to give you the same stuff. So it's just about being yourself. And you have to learn yourself, though, but just be yourself.
And that's a key point, having to learn yourself. Otherwise, you literally just kind of shape shift and you turn into whoever is in the room. So you just kind of turn into, you just flow with the wind. You're not anchored down anywhere. And so, you don't even know, like, your identity is just shaken in every environment, and that's a really uncomfortable place to be in. And before we go, can you take a couple of minutes and speak to somebody who is listening? Maybe it's somebody who was born with a physical disability, a mental disability, and they feel like because they have that title on them, they'll never be able to accomplish these dreams they have. Can you speak to them and maybe just give them a couple minutes of encouragement?
Bet on yourself, because if you don't bet on yourself, nobody else is going to bet on you. If I didn't go and put in the work on the basketball court, nobody would have picked me up. They might have picked me up. Oh yeah, we got the kid with the short arms. We'll let him shoot a couple. No, it's like when I got to the court, oh yeah, we need E on our team because we know he can shoot. We know what he going to bring. So you have to bet on yourself. Believe in your own ability, no matter what that ability is. You might not be able to write. You might not be able to. I can't read that good. I'm a teacher. I can't read that good, but that ain't stopping me from teaching the kids. So you have to believe in your own ability. You have to give hard effort. Like, so there's a car, and when you have a car and you run out of gas, there's an extra tank when it hit E. There's an extra tank in you when you feel like you hit E, and you just bring it out. You just give everything you got. I tell people, you put me in the jungle, I'm gonna come out. I might have some bruises, some scratches, but I'm gonna come out because I'm gonna give everything that I got. You got to give everything that you got inside you to dominate, to be great, to whatever it is that you feel that you want to do, that you need to do. Give everything you got, and then you got to trust the process. It ain't always pretty. It ain't always easy. Like I said, I had 16 different surgeries. I had to trust each surgery that my arms would get stronger or whatever so I could be able to do what I needed to do. So when you bet on yourself, you're able to depend on yourself because you don't have to depend on nobody else because you know what you bring to the table. Sometimes you bring the whole table. Sometimes you bring the whole table, the whole meal, the chairs, everything. Sometimes you just bring something to add. But when you believe, you're not gonna give up. You're gonna get punched in the mouth. The people gonna talk about you. They gonna say you can't do it. You know how many times people have told me I couldn't do something? Oh, okay. You might not be able to do it, but I know I can. And when you have that in you, you can do whatever you want. It don't matter if you want to be a billionaire, if you want to start your own company, if you want to start your own school, you want to do whatever it is, because we're in the times that you can create whatever it is you want. So don't let someone tell you you can't do something, and embrace being an underdog. Underdogs are cool. Like when you really think about, everybody's an underdog. They didn't just wake up. Steph Curry ain't wake up just being the greatest shooter ever. LeBron didn't wake up just with his skills. Whoever you look up to, they didn't just wake up and it happened. They had to go through a lot of different things. They were an underdog and they got to where they were at. So embrace being the underdog and bet on yourself. That's all I got. And I'll use my slogan. You can measure my arms, but you can't measure my heart. That's yeah.
That was good. I don't have nothing to say after that. I mean, what else is there to say? Thank you so much, Eric. I've truly enjoyed this conversation. I enjoyed your story, and I know you have more. So this 30 minutes was just a snapshot of who you are. But thank you for being you, and thank you for being unapologetic. And I really believe that somebody is going to watch this and need to hear the words that you spoke. So I thank you so much for agreeing to be on my podcast.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity. I love being able to talk, especially being a podcast host. You have people on and you don't really get to talk. So I love to be able to talk and I love to share my story because if I can help one person, I've done my job for the day.
And I believe you definitely have. And how can people get in contact with you if they want to be on or watch your podcast? If they, I know you mentioned you had a clothing line. How can everybody stay connected with you?
So with the podcast, it's Underdog, but it's UnDerdawg. Talk podcast on Instagram, on Facebook, on any podcast platform. I have some YouTube up, but because my laptop went down, I haven't been able to do visual in a few weeks. So it's audio right now. You can go to Facebook or Instagram. My clothing line is Christian Dewan, is Christian and then DEJUAN.com on Facebook, on Instagram. It's tops, it's sweaters, it's shirts for babies, for toddlers, for women, for kids, for men. It's for everybody. It's positive energy through your clothes. You can reach me that way, or you can email me at underdogtalkpodcast@gmail if you would like to be on the show, if you have any other questions or anything of that sort.
Well, thank you so much again, Eric. I really appreciate you. I appreciate this conversation. And thank you for everybody for tuning in to another episode of Unmute Your Mic. Please make sure to stay connected with Eric. If you go to unmuteyourmic.org, there you're going to see his show notes. So you'll see more about him, his bio, and everything he just mentioned in ways that you can get in contact with him. As always, you can like, subscribe, and follow on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that you can find a podcast. And don't forget to be bold, be heard, and continue to unmute your mic. Thank you again, Eric.
Thank you for tuning in to Unmute Your Mic. Be sure to tune in next time when Jessica takes her mic off mute as she continues her journey to find stories that inspire and uplift our community.